Welcome to At the Buzzer Radio with your host, Jacob Force. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Are you listening?
What's going on, everybody? We back with another episode. Let's get it. Woo! We back. 122. 21. It's 2021, everybody. This is wild. I don't know if I've done a podcast in a minute, honestly, for you guys, so sorry about that. It's been a little while. Got the new year. Hopefully, things get better. 21 looking up. Vaccines hopefully rolling out. Let's get this over with, you know. I got a new Instagram page. It's at the Buzzer Radio. You guys will see this video I'm recording now, and then hopefully up on YouTube as well. So I'm just kind of testing it out, see how it goes, and we'll go from there. Anyways, let's turn that down. First up on the news, we got Buffalo Bills fan who beat cancer, and they did it the best way. You know, the Buffalo Bills know how. He got to ring the bell, of course. You know how they always ring the bell, and then he went outside and he got up on a ladder. It was like a short, like couple step ladder, little step stool, and then he jumped off it, landed on a table that had cancer written on it, and he broke it in half. You know how like at every Bills game they always have someone jumping off of some truck or bus or something onto a table to break it in half. You know, you got to start off the games like that. So that's what he did for him beating cancer. So wanted to start it off on a good little note that congrats to that person. That was an awesome video. And then today is another today in history. We Black Mamba dropped 81 points on Jalen Rose's Toronto Raptors. So that's quite. I remember that game. It was pretty interesting. He just went off. Like, I think he started off a little bit slow, and then all of a sudden he just boom, boom, boom. And then even Jalen Rose to this day is just like, oh my God, that guy went off on us. So that was super fun. I always like watching the YouTube video of that one. Him just going for, I believe that's the third. I want to say it's the third highest points scored in a game. I know, obviously, you get the Wilt 101 points, and then he actually might be second. I can't remember anyone after that who scored. I'm pretty sure Kobe was second with 81 points, so maybe he is the Black Mamba. Rest in peace. You know, it's tough to see him go, but that's a good day in history to see him come up and get 81 points on the old Jalen Rose back before the Fab Five. Another one, moving on to UFC, Fight Island. So Fight Island with McGregor and Poirier, round 2. So they did have a meeting before, and now they're coming meeting back again. McGregor looks good, though. McGregor looks real good, guys. I don't think he's going to lose this one. He's been kind of out. Obviously, he had a real tough stretch with just kind of, he had a weird attitude. He kind of got in trouble with the law. I swear he's been arrested for a few times, unfortunately. So I'm glad to see him back. He looks like he's more poised, more ready to go. I think it's going to be a pretty quick game, pretty quick round, I should say. UFC Fight Night, everyone, check that one out. Hopefully they'll be really good. McGregor, though, put all your money on McGregor. He can't. He's a champ. He's the champ. All right, everyone, moved on. Pac-12 news, big news in the Pac-12. I believe on Inauguration Day. So just recently, Pac-12 fired their AD, Larry Scott. So that's huge. The Pac-12 released him just before this was his last year coming up. They released him before that. He was getting paid about $5 million every year. And he's been around for a while. I want to say he's been 11 years. I believe he's been in the Pac-12 11 years as the AD there. And so he's making about $40 million over his career. Obviously, he had some good things. He did add Colorado and Utah to the Pac-12, so that was awesome. He was trying to make it Pac-16, I believe. He wanted to add Texas A&M and Texas. Actually, I don't know about Texas, but Texas A&M for sure. There was like some other Oklahoma. I think he wanted to try to add to the Pac-12 or the Pac-10 at that time. But he just only got Colorado and Utah. So it's kind of interesting to see. We're gonna have new AD, so hopefully they're gonna have to hire someone. Pac-12 is a disaster. The Pac-12 has been a disaster. Obviously, revenue's been going up every year, and it's been going up since he was hired. But the problem is, we've been pretty stagnant the last few years. And even though we are, I guess, making more money, but it's the same about the same raise as any other Power 5 conference. So it's not really anything to talk about. And I am sick and tired of our TV rights. I can never find the game on any TV stations, DirecTV, any like the satellite TV stuff. You can't find it. I believe it's on Xfinity, but you might have to pay like for the sports package. It's just not on any good streaming sites. Like it should be on most of the streaming, especially locally. If you're in Oregon, that'd be awesome. I don't know why that's not how it is. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Hopefully we hire a new AD that's gonna be awesome and just get a better TV deal and do some other things. We have a lot of things we can work on as a Pac-12. The viewership, they keep saying, the viewership is going down because other conferences are just doing really well, obviously. But I don't know if you look at all the games back in the day, like we haven't had great viewerships lately because our teams have honestly been trash. I'm sorry, overall, we can't make it to the postseason except for maybe the Ducks and some things. Obviously, basketball, they've been okay. Football, they've been hit and miss. They've had a really good Mariota season where they went to the championship and lost. But ever since then, we haven't really broke any good football where the big money is. We haven't broken any playoffs. So, and we usually maybe get one team in the bid. And then USC has been up, down. UCLA, down. So all those California schools that we do rely on, they just have not been well either. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Hopefully, it's just going to get better from here. Moving on, MLB, we lost a good one. Home run king Hank Aaron. He passed away at age 86. So rest in peace to Hank Aaron, a legend. He did play 23 years in the major league. Spent his time with the Braves. At that time, they were the Milwaukee Braves, and he spent there 1954 to 1965. And then they moved to their city now where they play is Atlanta. From 66 to 74 he played. And he was obviously the home run leader. He had 755 home runs. He passed Babe Ruth at the time, was number one. And Hank Aaron passed him up. And he only got passed. And now he's in second place because of steroids. So the steroid era hit, and Barry Bonds has 762. And I remember at that time, I was old enough to watch Barry Bonds. He was amazing until he found out he was juiced. But there's obviously that in the game. Obviously, it's very controversial, but we'll see. It's still really awesome to watch, and another legend. Unfortunately, luckily, did live a pretty long life, 86, which is good. But he's still a career leader in total bases, 6,856 total bases. He is a career leader in RBIs, 2,297, and then he is third in hits, 3,771, and just behind Pete Rose and Ty Cobb. And so, so, I mean, obviously Pete Rose has his own scandals as well with all the betting, but he's still, you can't point anything to his, any performance enhancing. You can't point anything to that was just betting. So obviously he was banned for life at the time. I think they did end up reversing that ban, but he was obviously betting and doing that, but he still was one of the best to ever do it. And then Ty Cobb is just above him on the hits. And then, Hank Aaron, he was elected to the MLB Hall of Fame in 1982 with 406 out of 415 ballots cast. His 97, that would be a 97.83 introduction percentage. And that is the second highest in history at the time, only to Ty Cobb. So obviously he's a legend, a living legend. Rest in peace to him. He changed the game forever for a lot of people, especially in the African American community. He definitely changed the game and let people, look up to him and be able to be in the position that they are today. And he really just broke barriers, and not only as a player, but as an activist, and even as management. He did get into management with Atlanta as well, and so the Atlanta Braves. And so that's really awesome to see. Unfortunately, he didn't get as much recognition until later on in his life. But we did, I hope, to him that we did recognize him later on. I know, unfortunately, with things that happen, we don't recognize for many different reasons and race reasons. But we do recognize him later, and then we're definitely recognizing him right now. So I want to take that time out to say thank you to Hank Aaron for an amazing 23 years in the major league. And then, unfortunately, move on to another really weird thing in the MLB. The New York Mets GM had a sexting scandal. Of course, we have all this other news going on in pandemic, and then all of a sudden, I was looking at the news, and I was like, this is a really weird thing going on. The New York Mets GM was sexting a reporter. I believe it was a foreign reporter. That's what I've been reading. And then obviously, okay, let me talk to you guys. If you start messaging someone, right, you probably message them once, maybe twice, and then you don't get a response. Do you think they're interested? Really? No, they're not. You know what I mean? Like, nah. I mean, they could be maybe at the gym or eating, but I doubt it. Especially nowadays, everyone's at home. Everyone is watching their phone 24/7. I know I am, and I'm always busy. So he sends 80 messages. 80. Like, bro, take a hint. So, yeah, he's definitely in a big trouble right now. Obviously, that's harassment, sexual harassment. You run it up, the list. That's just terrible. I feel bad for that reporter. It's crazy that stuff still happens. Like, you don't think you're gonna get busted? Come on. I don't know. That was just a weird thing. I had to throw that in. Let's move on to NFL news. So we got some NFL news. Obviously, sad day for Seahawks fans. We tried. We played the LA Rams for that wild card game, and we stunk it up. Typical Seahawks fashion. We have a great season. We start off amazing, red hot. Russell Wilson, MVP conversation for the first 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And then all of a sudden we kind of get away from our identity, and then we're fine. But we're still getting some wins, right? But we pick up some losses to some low-end teams. Usually if we have to play them like twice, they kind of figure us out. And then we kind of change our strategy. I don't know why, but every single year the Seahawks start changing, the last at least couple years, besides when we won it in 2014. But the last few years we've been changing our strategy. We have an identity. We have run, pound the ball with a run, play tough in your face defense, and that the defense masks some of our holes, right? We don't always have the best players in all the positions on defense, but we have a few guys that can really just cover a few other people, and then they can just kind of like act bigger, because they can get across the field. They can move really quick. They can have lateral quickness, but so they mask that. But the more and more that our offense gives the ball back, the more strain it puts on our defense. And if we're out there for God knows how long, then our defense is going to suffer. And I don't care if we trade for all the great cornerbacks. You know what I mean? I love that we got Mr. Presidential in there, but he's a great cornerback, but he can't do everything, you know, and we can't do everything when our defense is literally in the game 90% of the time. So normally we used to be able to run the ball. Like I know Carson has been injured all off and on. Like I've been saying, I had it on fantasy football. I didn't even know if I can play him in fantasy football every week. I look at my lineup and I'm like, okay, should I do it? He's questionable. Yeah, let's do it. And then he goes off, right? He gets me a couple of touchdowns, but he's questionable every week. Something like I believe it was his left ankle, then it was like his knee, and then his left ankle again, and then his other ankle. And I get that. And then we had CJ Procise, and I'm trying to think. Who's that other backup? I think it was like a rookie backup. But we had like a 3-back rotation, definitely between CJ Procise and Chris Carson. We had a really good lineup, but they just kept getting injured. So I get that you have to go away from them when they're injured. But like that's when Russ has to take it upon himself and just be a bigger man and make the right plays. I know Russ, he's really good. I love Russ. He is MVP caliber every year. He really is, and he has been. But the problem is, I see a lot of problems when he goes for the big shots, right? He always goes just for the big plays, and that's not always what we need. We need those those routes underneath. You know what I mean? We need him to run the ball maybe once or twice. And I know there's a little bit to do on the offensive line. We have got to get him an offensive line. I don't know how many years I've been saying this. Actually, we didn't even have an offensive line, I don't think, when we had a decent snapper, but we didn't have a great offensive line even when we won in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So we've been struggling to find it, and we did trade away our best center for Jimmy Graham at the time, who did nothing. He was exciting, maybe, got some tickets sold. I mean, Jimmy Graham was great. I love Jimmy Graham. He was a great player. But when we got him, we didn't know how to use him. So that was a waste. I'd rather have someone on the offensive line that can protect Russell Wilson. I don't care how many weapons you give us. If we can't use those weapons, they're useless. They could be cool on paper, but yeah. And then the other problem was, I know DK Metcalf had an amazing year. Like, I love DK Metcalf, watching him. He's a beast. But what happened to Lockett? Like, why did we stop throwing it to him? I had him in fantasy, and literally the last 5 weeks, he had maybe 2-3 points in fantasy because he had one catch for 40 yards. Like, what is going on? I know we're trying to get Metcalf. He was hot on certain games, but we were really good when we went back and forth, and then even maybe used them together. But when it seemed like the first 4 weeks, it was Metcalf had a good game, and then Lockett had a good game, and then Metcalf, and then Lockett, and they just went back and forth. But then they just kind of cut Lockett out of it, and I didn't get to watch as much games as I wanted to, but I feel like the game plan changed, and that's why. Because I feel like he would have been open, and I know he's a great player. And I think they just had him put into those slot positions, which I think he can be good at, but I think you should rotate it. Honestly, I think DK Metcalf is a good slot rotator because he's big and he can do those quick little routes in the middle, and then he can catch him. He's got good hands, and then once he gets tackled, he's bigger. Like Lockett goes in there, and he's like this scrawny little guy, and I love Lockett, but he's got really good hands, and he does hold on the ball, which I'm really impressed for his size. But then he gets smashed, and then of course I don't want to play. I don't want to do that when I'm getting hit left and right. So I think those are a few things. I do know the Seahawks did get they either fired or let go their offensive coach, and they are searching. And I think I saw a rumor where it's Adam Gates, the Jets head coach, as our offensive coordinator. And I don't know. I've been going back and forth on if I like that or not. Because on one hand, it's the New York Jets who stunk it up. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, he knows football, and offensive coach is not as important. I mean, it's important, but like you can hide as long as he buys into a certain, our game plan, and he has a good. I know he has a football knowledge. Obviously, he wouldn't be a head coach if he didn't. And a lot of head coaches are better off as offensive coordinators, and a lot of, some offensive coordinators are better off as head coaches. So I think he actually could work out, and he has the rapport, as well. So I think that'd be very interesting. We'll see if that wraps up with the Seahawks. I don't know. Moving on, ex-Washington football team, the Washington, D.C. football team. I honestly think they should have been the D.C. football club. I know it's a little bit like soccer-esque or football, if you will, but the dude, D.C. football, oh man, what did I just say? Washington, the D.C. football team? Yeah, sure. I think D.C. should have been more part of it. I think that's what I'm getting down to it. D.C. football team. That would have been sweet. I know Washington is cool, but every time I think of Washington, I think of Washington, like the state, because I live next to it. Obviously, we're in Oregon. So I'm always like, Washington football team. That's not the Seahawks. You know what I mean? For like when I was little, I was like, Washington, why do we have, I don't think we have two teams. I would have seen their logo and jerseys everywhere, But like DC football team would have been sweet. I think there are hockey teams like the DC Defender. No, their soccer team is a DC Defenders, and that's cool. Like DC Football Club, DCF, FT, F. That'd be cool. Anyways, enough of that banter. Ex-Washington football team QB Dwayne Haskins, their number one pick, first round pick, I should say, that they just let go due to just some immature reasons. He's been at the club. He didn't really abide by all the coronavirus protocols. He's been caught doing certain things, and he just didn't buy in. He's just on the sideline, not next to his other QB, learning. He's just over there by himself. He's just kind of doing his own thing, and I know I just think, he needs a little, everyone's been saying he just needs a little growing up, and, it hits everybody, honestly. I know there's a lot of players, they make it to the league, they're, a top pick. What more do you want? You know what I mean? Like, you're at the top of the game. I get it. But I think he's realized that he needs to just, bunker down and really put some effort into it, because he does have a lot of skill. This guy, he's a good quarterback. And there's no one ever saying that he wasn't a good quarterback. I mean, he was the captain of the Washington football team. So I think that would be awesome. Dwayne Haskins, he did sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think that'd be good. We don't know if Ben Roethlisberger is going to retire. He says he wants to re-up. If the Steelers want him back, he'll do it. So we're going to be interested to see. Obviously, he'll have to duke it out. If Ben Roethlisberger still stays and they want him back, obviously he's the starter. No question. But then if he doesn't come back, it's Dwayne Haskins and their other quarterback, and they, can duke it out as their backups. Rudolph, So they have Rudolph and Haskins now. So that'd be cool. I mean, it's still more competition for that backup role. Might make it better. Supposedly, Dwayne Haskins and Tomlin, head coach of Pittsburgh Steelers, they have the same agency for their agents that they go through. So obviously, Tomlin knows his situation, and he knows some more insight. Obviously his agent knows his other clients. So it's kind of interesting. We'll see how that. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm hoping that he does better. I'm hoping he learned from this, and I'm hoping that he just won't take this for granted. Because going in, learning from Ben Roethlisberger, that'd be awesome. That'd be really awesome. Hall of Fame quarterback for sure. Moving on to other NFL news. I didn't even put this in my notes because I totally spaced it. But Phillip Rivers said to retire. 17 years in the league. He wore number 17. I think that's super fitting. He's gonna go. He wants to go off and just coach high school, in little league football. Down in Alabama, I believe is where he's from. So that's awesome. I respect to Philip Rivers. He obviously was with the Chargers for a long time, and they had some really fun teams to watch, but they just never could get over the hump. And then he just finished it off with the Indianapolis Colts, and they did make it into the playoffs. They just lost their first round, so it's tough to see him never reach anything higher. He makes the playoffs, but then he loses, so it's tough. He was, I believe he was like fifth in completions. He's up there in touchdowns. I should have looked up his stats more, but for sure, Hall of Fame ballot, for sure. 17 seasons for number 17. Philip Rivers, he will be missed. I'm hoping he does a little Tony Romo, goes on, I don't know, Fox Sports or whatever, ESPN, and does some commentary, because that'd be cool. I think he's a cool dude. Everyone, remembers him as a big trash talker. So he would, there's a story going around where he would literally line up, right? He'd line up his offense, and then he would start talking smack to the defense across the line. And he's like, hey, yo, we're doing this, we're doing that. And then he'd do it. Or, hey, he would literally, there's this one story where he would line up and he would look across to the defense. He would point out one of the defenders and say, hey, you're lined up wrong. You got to be lined up over there. He would know their defense so well that he knew that their player was lined up wrong. And if that's not the ultimate trash talk, that was amazing. Like, he's like, yeah, dude, I know your play. I know exactly where you want to funnel us. You're off. So obviously that's just an awesome story. And congrats on a great 17 seasons, Philip Rivers. And hopefully it's a fluke. Hopefully he comes back, because I actually kind of liked him on the Colts. They don't really have anything else going on over there. So he played pretty well, but all reports are saying he is retired. So salute to you, my man. Hall of Fame. That's awesome. Moving on to NBA news. I have not even done any podcasts lately, so I haven't been able to talk about the Brooklyn Nets trading for James Harden. What? Dude, are you listening? Are you listening? Like, that's crazy. They did trade him over for some picks, and obviously, so let's look at the actual trade thing. When I saw this, I was working, and I got the notification that it happened, and I was like, no way, there's no way. I did not believe it, because I don't know how many months we've been saying, oh, nothing's going to happen. The Sixers, the Heat, the Brooklyn Nets, they're all interested, but then they weren't interested. No one ever. I actually thought they would want a whole lot, which they did give up a lot. But, it is done. At the end of the day, obviously, they didn't want to keep Harden, and he really was not trying. He gave up for the Houston Rockets, and I do slight him for that. Like, that's honestly kind of BS, and I really do hate that. And I get, I'm pro player movement. Like, obviously, you get drafted. I totally get that. If you get drafted to a team, and it's tough to, you have to play there for so long to play out your contract. So I get that when you get a little bit angry about that. But if you go to a team, like he did get traded to the Rockets, but then he signed up. He signed up again to extend it. So, I mean, that's on you, dude. That's on you. You could have gone somewhere else. You wanted the money. So you either get money or you get to go play where you want to go play. So I don't like that you can just push your way out of your contract sometimes. Now I do get it. Like, the thing why I wrestle with it so much is obviously we go to any job. If I go up to my job right now, I could quit right now. I can walk out the door. I don't have a contract. To be fair, I'm not like in a salary position. So salary positions are going to be much different. They have actual contracts usually. But as an hourly, even most salaries, you can even do that. You can walk away. But with the NBA contracts and or any professional athlete contracts, obviously you have to play out your years, get traded or lose money. There's lots of different aspects to it. So I get the argument where the Rockets will have to, have to give up something and maybe give in. So I guess it was worth it. They traded for Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Radis Karukas, and 3 unprotected first-round picks from the Nets, 2022, 2024, and 2026, and then 4 unprotected net swaps. So they swap their picks, usually like for the best. So they'll swap their lower end pick for their higher end pick in 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027. And a 2022 Milwaukee Buck first round pick via Cleveland because this was a 3-team trade. So it was the Rockets, Indiana Pacers, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. They all kind of 3-team trades get really tricky. And even like to this day, I've seen it go down. Obviously, it's not as common because there's a lot more, cogs in the wheel. You know what I mean? Like we have 3 teams. We have multiple assets going from here to there. You have to make salaries work. You have to make compensation obviously work for I want this and you want that. So it's really tough. And you don't see it much often. Like in 2K, like I've been playing 2K and everything. I love doing that. Can you, like, dude, 3-team trades never work in 2K. So imagine doing it in real life. I'm always confused. So the Cleveland Cavaliers did get Jared Allen, Torian Prince. I don't know why I messed that up. Torian Prince, and then Karis LeVert, and then a 2023 second-round pick from Houston. So what happened is Oladipo, Exum, Karukas, I believe, went to the Rockets. And then Cleveland Cavaliers get Jared Allen, the big man that's 3rd year in the NBA, I believe. He's pretty good. I like him. I like him a lot. He's kind of like a DeAndre Jordan almost, where he's like a springy big man. He doesn't really have a shot. He doesn't really do much, but he's athletic and big. And then Torian Prince, who's a young, like, small forward guard. Veteran, I should say. He's a veteran. And then Karis LeVert goes to the Indiana Pacers. That's a big one. So they kind of swapped Oladipo and Karis LeVert. And that's kind of smart for the Pacers if you actually think about it. At first I was like, Oladipo was pretty good. And Karis LeVert has been injured. So I was like, why would you go for an injured player? But it makes total sense when you actually look at the contracts. So Oladipo is up after this year, and Karis LeVert is signed for, I believe, another year or 2. So it makes sense in the long run to actually go through and do that trade for the Pacers because they get Karis LeVert on the contract still for a few more years. Through 2022 and 2023. So they still have him on a contract. He's cheaper than Oladipo. And they don't have to deal with, is Oladipo going to leave, or is he going to sign up? Do they have to give him a big extension? So they kind of get a furlough on that whole decision with their guard, and they get another year. So that's a pretty good trade. Obviously, Victor Oladipo goes now to John Wall, Christian Wood, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker. Then you have Dante Exum in that trade, and then DeMarcus Cousins. So it's kind of an intriguing Houston roster. It's like a bunch of, just like has-beens, I guess, if you will. I mean, obviously, I don't necessarily put Victor Oladipo in that category. He's just been injured the last few years. He's been a stud ever since he came into the league. He's from University of Indiana. He's been an absolute stud. So I don't really put him in that category, obviously. And then John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins been, on and off injured, in and out of lineups. John Wall, obviously, we've been talking about him in the Russell Westbrook trade before. And then Christian Wood has been playing out of his mind, at least to start. I don't know. I haven't seen too much lately. Obviously, the Rockets you don't really see like news when they don't have like Harden anymore. Like now I just see Nets news, Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, you know what I mean? We know who the super teams are. So now let's go down to the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets, yeah, they got a big one. They got a big haul. They got James Harden, and they had to give up some good role players. Jared Allen. They had to give up, a lot of good players. Honestly, I don't. I'm trying to. Sorry, I'm reading at the same time. So it's like it's really interesting to see how this whole super team, ultra. This is like an ultra super team. This is a Thanos team. You snap, and like we will win. We will win the championship. So like James Harden coming in, they have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. First game, they all get to play together, right? So Kyrie Irving comes back from his hiatus of saving the world. I don't know what's going on with him. I feel really bad though. He did look really depressed, like no joke on that interview. He did not look himself anymore. So I do hope and I pray like he's all good. I never want like depression hits everybody, even if you're a professional athlete or anywhere. So I don't care if you're making millions or not. Money doesn't buy happiness. You know what I mean? So like he's got to be in a good mindset. He's got to be happy for himself. And so I'm hoping, this team, he's actually being happy again and playing. He's been playing the last few games. So I hope he's doing better. He just seemed like he had to take some time off. He had a lot of family issues. So I'm praying that all resolves because he's a fun player to watch. And this is a really fun team to watch now. But with all that said, that first game, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, they all dropped so many points. Like, they all played 50 minutes. Did you guys see that? They played 50 minutes. That was like Durant's and James Harden's career high in minutes. Obviously, they don't have a bench now because they traded it all away, but they played them nearly 50 minutes. That's crazy. I would drop dead. I would drop dead after like 10 minutes in an NBA game. But you know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of minutes to be playing. So it was really interesting to see. But they did go up against Cleveland Cavaliers. And this team is going off. They're 8-7. But dude, Colin Sexton, my guy, the guard, he's averaging 27 points per game this season. 27. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are top 5 in defense, so they're with Andre Drummond a double machine. I saw the stat the other day. I was watching this like YouTuber. He does different stats, and just all of random stuff like who gets the most doubles, everything. Andre Drummond was up there, actually number one in like the recent era. Who you might not like you would think about if you if you were watching the older NBA like early 2000s. Dwight Howard was insurmountable ahead of all other post players with doubles. He was a double machine on the Magic. So that was really interesting. And then just the second player to even get close was Andre Drummond. So he's a double machine as well. Not quite as like peak Dwight Howard, but he's been playing really well. He plays defense. But dude, Colin Sexton, 27 points going off. The Brooklyn Nets lost back-to-back. Now Durant played. They just played today, so they just wrapped this game. So it's kind of going to live from after that game. But Durant did sit out the second game, mainly because of obviously he played 50 minutes last game, and he is coming off an Achilles tear, I believe. So I wouldn't want to play him either. You know what I mean? Like, you want to rest him. And James Harden and Kyrie did okay. Like, James Harden got 19 points, 11 assists, 37 minutes. Kyrie Irving, 38 points, 5 assists, 31 minutes. Obviously, James Harden is the point guard on this team. Like, James Harden can pass the ball. Like, people don't really realize how much he will pass the ball. If you're good open, he does like to dish it, especially because he likes to drive and then he whips it over his shoulder. Kyrie, on the other hand, he has got goggles, dude. He puts those goggles on. His blinders, He sees the bucket and he sees his basketball going through the bucket. That's all he sees. And then maybe, okay, Durant's open. Here he is. You know what I mean? Oh, James Harden. That's about it. Maybe Joe Harris. Joe Harris only had 8 points. I really hope that they get him in. Dude, he's a great shooter. I hope he gets more playing. Like, he played a lot, 31 minutes. But just because you're playing 31 minutes doesn't mean that James Harden, Kyrie Irving, And then if when Durant comes back the next game, they're not going to pass you the ball. You know what I mean? You got to be wide open because they're looking to score the bucket. But they still have, they have a pretty brutal bench. They have James Harden, Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan, obviously Kyrie Irving, Bruce Brown Jr. is pretty good. Jeff Green, old vet. They might even run Jeff Green at the 4 and Durant at the 5 or vice versa, and then run just small ball. And then when they want to go a little bit, like they have like a lengthy, with DeAndre Jordan and Kevin Durant, like that'd be pretty lengthy down below. Then they have Landry Shamet, Timothy Lowe Cabarrot. I'm pretty sure he's a rookie. He had 11 points. Jeff Green had 13. So it's kind of interesting. They just can't play defense. That last game, though, it was like 145 to 137 or something. That's like an all-star game. That's crazy. I haven't seen someone score 145 points. I think it was the Cleveland Cavaliers. They won like in forever. Like I remember, you watch the all-star game. It's exciting. It's a lot of dunks, a lot of shooting, whatever, offensively. Obviously, there's no defense. This is literally what it is. If you put James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant on the team, it's an all-star team. And not in the, we have like the best players, we're going to dominate you type all-star team. It's like great. It's the all-star game this weekend. That'll be kind of fun. I want to watch 3-point contest. That's about it. Maybe the dunk contest. You don't care about who wins or loses the actual game. So that's kind of what the Brooklyn Nets have become. Like, I hope they turn it around a little bit. They're really intriguing. Of course, they have to mesh. And if you look at every super team, they take like a whole year on average, a whole season to really mesh. If you go look back at all the super teams. But they have zero excuses, you know what I mean? They better be happy. They got traded to the place they want to be traded. They signed with the Nets where they want to be signed. They are all averaging $30 million a game. I mean, not a game, a year. So you guys better be happy. You know what I mean? Like that's what you get. But 0-2 with the Cleveland Cavaliers back to back. It's not really looking great for the Nets. I hope they turn around. It's fun to watch, but it's also fun to not root for them. You know what I mean? Oh man. Anyways, moving back on to that. I think that actually wraps up my notes. Interesting. So, yeah, thank you guys for tuning in today and at the Buzzer. I do have a video. I'm hoping this actually recorded. I might have had some drop frame rates. Looked like it might have dropped some frame rates. So that's kind of unfortunate. I'm just like learning the video side of it and all that. I'm trying to stream. I do have my Instagram up. It's at like that symbol and then the Buzzer Radio up on Instagram. I'm going to be posting to there. And then I'm going to be posting, I think, to a YouTube channel once I get this video all recorded. So I'm hoping everything worked well. But obviously, if you're listening to this, it's probably also on my podcast on Spotify. So thank you. Thank you all for all the amazing feedback. I know people have been reaching out to me and wanting more content. So I'm trying to get around to it. And I'm going to be hopefully doing more. I know I say only weekly. But I'm hopefully going to be doing more. But I know I just work a lot. Just like everybody. You know what I mean? I work a lot. And this is kind of a side gig for fun. So I just want to bless you guys. And I want to just do this for fun, So I'm going to have my dad on too. I did give him my microphone set up. So once dude, my dad is amazing, right? He works so much. It was his birthday, by the way. Happy birthday to my dad. 61. I should know this. I think he's 61 or 62. Why do I not know the exact? I feel so bad. I love you, Dad. But yeah, it was his birthday on Tuesday, and this week his boss came in, like from corporate, and so he's been having to work some longer hours. So I didn't go visit him, just because he had to work anyways. But I'll go visit him soon. I love you, Dad. Happy birthday. I thank you for everything you do for me, you and Mom. Just obviously the rock of the family. But we're gonna have him on. We literally talk on the phone all the time. I should just record our phone calls because we have debates and we like talk like Lily Sports 24/7. I just can't get it recorded onto the podcast. You know what I mean? So I have him set up with my other microphone, and once we get that set up, it's gonna be awesome. Yeah, we'll leave hopefully soon. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you guys, like, comment, subscribe, follow my Instagram page for more updates, and I'm hoping to do many, many more of these. All right, love you all.
Are you listening?